Kicking off the new year with political season, Watertown City Council has a couple of seats that will be open, and we have a candidate that is here to talk about why he wants to run. Colin Burns joining us. Good to see you.
Yeah, you too, Jeff.
Thanks
Thank you.
for coming in. And this is, you'll have a formal announcement, but you're ready to start telling people that you want to run for Watertown City Council.
Sure.
I want to learn the reasons why, but let's get people a chance to learn who you are.
Sure.
You have history with parents that served in public positions.
And a grandfather that was mayor.
And a grandfather that was mayor. You didn't let me get there. But so you have a lot of that history, and probably a lot of that is just in your system. But give us who you are and what you do right now.
Yeah, so I'm 34 years old, live here in the city of Watertown. Lived here the majority of my life, just a few years, schooling that you're away. And I've always been very passionate about this community. And I feel like the time is right. I was at an economic forum. Actually, I believe you were the host of it. And Marshall Weir got up and said that the average age here in the city of Watertown is 35, I believe. So, I'm kind of that medium age of the people who live here in Watertown. I think that, looking back, and as you mentioned, my family, I've seen some interviews with my grandfather and some of the issues that the city is still facing when he was in office, we were still facing. So when I saw that, it kind of led me to think, why are we still dealing with these issues all these years later? Every single council has something that comes about that seems to be the main focus or challenge that they have. But at the same time, if we have issues with our water, let's get that taken care of. So I'm looking at it from a historical, but also as somebody that, wants to build a family here, stay here, and what do we need to do to move forward to better the community?
So you're going to have some sort of a formal announcement. What are some things that you have to do now? What are some things that you're working on? And you have to be ready for the end of February because you have to start doing petitions. Things have moved up a little bit in terms of that process to run for office.
Yes, number one, end of February, I got to make sure that all my warm socks are clean for me to go door to door. Being a little facetious there. But yeah, so right now it's really just kind of finalizing and putting all my ideas to paper. So that way when somebody turns around and says, well, hey, what do you think about this? I can turn around and say, well, this is exactly how I feel about it. I think there's a lot of issues that our city is facing. I think there's a lot of things that people aren't thinking of that we can do to better this community.
So give me some of those ideas. What are some things that people aren't thinking of?
Yeah, well, hydro. It seems like that's the big monkey that's on everybody's back, right? And everybody knows it's there, but yet it doesn't get talked about that often. So I've got some ideas for hydro. One thing that I also think that we need to do is we really need to look at our refuse. It seems like it's been in the news recently, obviously with the change in policy, but at the same time, I bought a house about a year and a half ago. It was a foreclosure here in the city. Put it back on the tax rolls, and I talking to my neighbor. He uses pick and go. And he goes, there's not really a reason that I use them other than the city, other than the fact that they're single stream recycling. On the other side, around the same time that I bought the house, a gentleman bought this apartment building, and he was in the military. And he called me and he asked me what to do for his trash. And I suggested using the city. He had no idea. I think that there's a way that we can better market something that's actually making money here in the city. When our folks are out on the streets, DPWs going door to door, picking up the trash, they know exactly what citizens are not using our services. Why not have a little flyer that we can leave right there with those people and try to bring more income into the city? It's a good way to offset some of the other places where we have a deficit.
Sure. When you talk about hydro, that contract's running out soon.
2030, I believe.
Yeah. Do you think, and it's worth millions of dollars to the city in terms of revenue. Do you think the city has been doing enough, or they had a commission, they had some people look at it, it kind of went away? Do you think the city has dropped the ball with some other things that are on the table right now?
I don't want to say the city dropped the ball. I think that there are more that could have been done. However, I also just think that I think that everybody just thinks that National Grid is just going to sign up for it again, and they're not going to. So I've got a plan in place that'll be coming out soon, where I think that the city will really be able to benefit, and it'll benefit the people of the city.
When it comes to hydro, and I have a plan, we've heard that from other people in the past. Yeah. You really have a plan?
Well, I'll put it to you this way. My mom called me a couple of weeks ago, and she goes, don't tell me you already know what you're going to do. You have to figure this out. And I laid out my plan, and she said, I got to go.
Okay.
So she, yeah, there's a plan.
Okay. And when do we learn what that is?
Probably within the next month or so.
Other issues that are before the city. I mean, the city is running out of money.
Yeah.
And the projections have come from City Hall that in a couple of years, 2026, 2027, could be $8 or $9 million in the hole. Those numbers are a little old, probably almost a year old. But nonetheless, nothing's really changed unless that's a worse number. What is your policy or what is your stance on tax increases? Or are you a candidate that just says, no new taxes happening in the city? Or are you, some would argue, more realistic to say something has to give here and the taxpayer is going to have to do some of that?
I think that's a good way to put it. I mean, realistically, would I like to sit here and tell you no new taxes? Absolutely. I mean, I went to the city council about a year ago because I was a fairly new homeowner and I wasn't happy that my taxes were going to go up. But at the same time, what we need to do is we really got to sit back and honestly balance the budget. Instead of bickering about this, that, or the other thing, it's really about coming together as a city council and balancing a budget, creating new revenue streams, and not just sitting on what has been done for the previous 25 years.
As I've spoken with the mayor, she's been in that chair often, and we talk about things coming up for this budget session. Everything's on the table for her, and it does include the golf course. A lot of people just forget about the golf course and the purchase and let it be, but it could come back up in terms of funding that. And is it a revenue source if you do sell it? If the city were to do something with it, whatever the parameters are for that. But I guess it's still important as to what is your view of that golf course? Is it an asset? Is it something that should be there and the city loses a little bit of money on it once in a while and try to get it to be balanced? Or is it, where are you all in on the golf course?
Well, where I am on the golf course is we have the golf course, whether or not we agreed on the deal or we disagree on that deal. So it's here. I think there's better ways to make money with it, to lend out the restaurant for $5, $6 a season. That's ridiculous. Get fair market value for somebody to come in, operate the restaurant. I think it's too early to turn around and say, close down the course. If somebody was to approach the city and say, I'd like to buy it privately, I think that's a lot better than running a municipal course. I think that the city, it's recreational. It is good that the city has it, and to some degree. So losing a little bit of money is one thing, but the amount of money over the last couple of years that's gone into it, I think is ridiculous, because I think there were a lot of things that were overlooked. I mean, obviously the electrical issue and the amount of money that went into that. I think that this is a monster that's going to be ever changing over the next couple of years. But you brought it up. If somebody wanted to buy it, I would be all for selling it.
Restricted by it being parkland and stuff, but there could be other ways, there could be new ideas, but or the city can run it, whichever it goes. But still, it's an expense, and right now it's losing money.
Losing a lot of money.
So is the arena. The arena loses more money, right? Do you have an opinion on the arena?
Well, I do, and what I would say is that a golf course is very niche to the people that play golf. I'm a golfer. An arena can be used for a lot of different things. I mean, Jeff, you're not going to turn around and go up to the golf course this Saturday and say, oh, there's a hot tub show and I might buy a hot tub. They do hot tub shows at the arena. The arena is it's a venue that is used for a lot of different things, so I wouldn't compare the two.
In terms of running, there will be 2 seats open.
Correct.
And what sets you apart from those people? And I guess, are you running because you don't like the views of maybe one of the 2 candidates, or are you running just because you want to become part of council? Where does your energy come from for this?
My energy comes from wanting to bring my ideas to the table, bring new solutions to the city of Watertown, and just be part of the government and trying to make everybody's lives that live here in the city a little bit better.
So you're not saying, I mean, you're no qualms with the 2 candidates, Mr. Olney or Ms. Ruggiero, so no quarrels there. How do you stand out then? Because we know that Mr. Olney, he came in and he announced he's going to run for re-election. I assume that, but I don't know if Lisa Ruggiero will. I imagine that she would. How do you stand out from them? They're going to say they have experience.
Yeah.
They've been on council. How do you come in as a newcomer and say, I'm better?
So I don't come in with the experience of being a sitting council member, but I do know what it's like to be a council member due to my family. But what I also will say is that some of the ideas that I will be coming out with very shortly is very different than probably any candidate has run on before. I've done a lot of thinking.
It's intriguing.
A lot of thinking.
What does that involve without spilling the beans? What is that? I'll bite.
Yeah, well, go ahead. An actual hydro plan.
Okay.
We've heard from one council member that they have a plan. We're still waiting to hear that. Like I said, I actually have a plan for that. I bring kind of a unique background. I work for an integrator, so I understand how to secure our city, how to make families more safe, and just some of my other ideas. I mean, more to come, but I've got some ideas where we can create new budget lines, making more revenue for the city. So maybe we don't have to sit there and cut all these things out of the budget, try to balance a budget or keep taxes at a certain increase, not the 30% that might be proposed when the initial budget comes out. So I've done a lot of thinking, a lot of outside the box, and more to come.
Mm-hmm. Some people would think and do. They're like, oh my gosh, why would you want to get into this?
Yeah.
Why would you want to get into politics for one, but on city council is another one with a lot of the things that are going on that board. What do you say to someone that says you're crazy? Why do you want to do this?
Because I care about my community. I mean, at the end of the day, I've dealt with it my whole life between my parents, my grandfather. I'm used to it, so I don't really care, and I have thick skin.
Mm-hmm. Have you spoken to residents already, and you're kind of getting a feel as to what's important to them?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, what do you think they are? What is there a number one thing that you're hearing over and over and over and over?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think people just want the council to get along. That seems to be what people want. That and taxes, because people don't want to pay more. Pay more for less. I was at dinner last week, and I was talking with a friend of mine, and he was telling me that he's mad because the city turned around and said that he got a personally hand-delivered letter that they would no longer plow his street. He's the only one on the street. I asked him, I go, do you pay taxes? He goes, of course I do. I said, well, that's ridiculous. I said, I will handle this if I'm elected.
So where do you go from here? You kind of answered that, but you're going to make an official announcement coming up?
I will be, yes, which will outline a little bit more of my platform. So that'll be coming the next couple of weeks, just looking to kind of tighten up a few loose bolts.
Are you hearing a lot of other names that could get into it? Or
I'm hearing the names that you've probably already heard.
Yeah. And ready to take on the competition. Do you think we'll end up having a primary? Do you think that it'll get that much attention?
There could be. Jeff, what I'll be honest with you is I really don't care, because I'm running on what I'm running on, and I really don't care who else runs.
Good deal. All right, Colin Burns, good to have the discussion, and I'm
Jeff,
sure we'll be
so much.
talking a lot more with you, but appreciate you coming in. All right.